Hello and welcome to episode 3 of our podcast, Perform Beyond, with me, Louise Brogan, and the team from VPS. If you have not already listened to our first 2 episodes, then I highly recommend you go and check them out, where we talk about how VPS works with our clients. And we also discussed how we onboard our clients, and you'll hear about the 100-day plan. So make sure you go and check that out. So joining me today here, we have Colin, Maureen and Priyesh. Guys, if you just want to briefly introduce yourselves, and then we can get stuck into compliance and the needs of our customers.
Good morning. I'll go first then. Good morning, Louise. Good morning, Maureen. Good morning, Priyesh. Looking forward to our third podcast. My name is Colin Lauder. I'm the operations manager for VPS. Currently, I'm working with a financial services client managing the delivery of a complete outsourced learning and development program with a financial services client in Dublin. Maureen, over to you.
Good morning, all. You're very welcome to today's podcast. My name is Maureen Owens, and I'm the learning manager working alongside Colin with one of our financial services clients. Priyesh.
Morning all. I'm Priyesh. I'm responsible for our shared service center in Barcelona, looking after training administration for our clients and also data analytics and data insights.
Excellent. So guys, we want to talk today really about, because I think this is really important, especially when we're talking about financial services, but also other clients that we have as well. How do you make sure that you meet the compliance needs of your customers and their teams? And who would like to start with this topic?
Maybe I'll kick off, Louise, on this word compliance or governance, as we call it in VPS. And I suppose if you look at the Oxford English Dictionary definition of governance, and they talk about the overseeing the control and direction of something, and in our case, it's about how we manage what we do. It's our defined framework of how we do things, and that's everything from processes, organizational structures, policies, people interactions, etc., and then how we measure that success and progress against the plan that we've implemented in partnership with our client. I guess it helps us to provide a critical insight into operations, operational delivery, strategy, and how we meet and how we go about meeting the business or program objectives. So for us, it's about providing a critical insight and a critical model into operational strategy and meeting the business objectives of the program and the organization. I suppose for this podcast, we want to talk a little bit more about our work that we do in financial services. And clearly, financial services is a heavily regulated industry. And so compliance and regulations and measurement of performance is very important. So I'm going to hand over to Maureen, who I guess will talk a little bit about her experience in financial services and why compliance and governance is important in the sector.
Brilliant.
Thanks, Colin. Yeah, I suppose I have worked in financial services for a large number of years, and it's really important to make sure that regulation and guidelines are really there for all of our clients, regardless whether that's financial services or not. I was one of those unfortunate people, I would say, that actually lived and worked in financial services during the last financial services crisis. It was a difficult time for people, and what we want to make sure is that our client never falls into that trap again. There are guidelines that are given out by our central bank, regardless of what country you happen to be in, and we need to make sure that our clients are fully compliant with that. And we cover off topics like data protection, anti-money laundering, information security, and some of the newer topics that have become really important to our clients, particularly those in that lending space around ESG and sustainability. So we need to make sure that we're helping our clients to become and maintain and always be compliant, and always to make sure that we can pull in on Priyesh's team when it comes to regulation data. So we have something that we can actually give to our central banks to say, yes, all of our customers' staff have gone through that training, and we have evidence to prove that. So regulation is really important to make sure that not only are our clients compliant, but we're compliant as well. So we need to make sure that compliance and regulation works on both sides. Colin mentioned governance. That governance works both ways. We have to play our part in governance as well as our clients, but it's so vitally important that we actually do that. And I suppose one of the areas we help and support our clients on regulation is We liaise an awful lot with the likes of the Insurance Institute, the IOB and the LIA to make sure we get CPD hours for our training. So anybody who's in a CPD type role, it's really important that they get CPD hours for the training that they're doing. So what we actually do is we help and support our client to make sure when we are talking about training delivery or we are talking about content updates, that it's relevant for CPD hours. Really nice for, I suppose, our learners to make sure that not only are they doing these mandatory trainings that are required, but as part of that, they're helping to actually get their CPD hours. Really important to make sure that if you are in that kind of regulated type industry and you do have CPD hours, that you actually get them. So you're doing your CPD hours as part of your day-to-day job. You're getting it on the job learning. I have seen people, and having somebody, I myself actually have CPD hours, but I know of people who on Christmas Day have actually logged on to actually get CPD hours. Nobody in their right mind wants to log on, turn their turkey dinner to actually have to get their CPD hours. So that's why it's really important that when we are designing our programs, that we support that with CPD hours and help our customers and help their learners have their journey from start of the year to the end of the year.
Excellent. Priyesh, in terms of measuring this, how does that work? We talked about there's some acronyms, SLAs, KPIs.
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit about that, and how do you make sure that all this compliance work is actually helping to meet the business objectives using the data or the data?
Yeah, absolutely. We have a team of data analytics team who specialize in looking after the sort of data from learning management experts and experts as well. What we do is we extract the data out of the learning management system and build MI reports. And this I guess there's two areas of reporting: the operational reporting from a training aspect of how we're doing in terms of class fulfillment and things like that, but more the strategic reporting where we're looking at the individuals, their compliance, what they need to do and when. So avoiding these people doing training on Christmas Day. We can identify who needs to do what when, and through our service center, we give these people a gentle nudge along the way to say, hey, don't forget, you need to do this by this date. So we're supporting the end users to ensure that they do the training when they need, and also to ensure that they are compliant throughout their career path throughout to the program as well. But yeah, the reporting takes multiple different forms. From the strategic side, we take data from whether that's the learning data or whether that's evaluation data. If people are doing assessments, we take assessment data, and we're also looking at it from different aspects as well. So if we take assessment data, for example, we're not just looking at who's passed or failed, but we're also looking at each individual question in that assessment and look at which questions people are not answering correctly. What's the trend? So if there's a certain trend of a certain part of the assessment people are not doing, that's fed back through Colin and Maureen back through to the customer and also through to our development team, where we can maybe look at what we've developed, how could that be improved, or what other remedial training we may need to do to ensure that the right message is getting across. So the data isn't just there to look at who's doing what, but also is feeding back through the chain into the whole machine again to make sure that we've got the right information out there.
I love it.
Priyesh, that feedback of evaluation is vitally important to Colin and I in our world, because it's really important, as you say, if we're missing key messages when it comes to training delivery, we need to actually refocus, be that our online training or our in-person or virtual trainers, so they can re-emphasize a certain point. Because if our learners are missing a point, we need to have that data to pass that back to us. So it is that live thing. As we mentioned earlier, things change, and some of our courses may change on the fly, because if we're missing a point, we need to make sure we're getting that point across. So that two-way evaluation is vitally important. We don't just need to hear, oh, that was a great course, I'm happy out. But we also need to hear the negatives of that I missed a point. If there's a learning gap, that actually helps us with that learning gap as well. So really vitally important that two-way communication works within VPS.
The continual performance even for yourselves.
Yes.
Yeah, and that links back to the governance model we touched on earlier, where we have Priyesh talked there about operational versus strategic, but we've built into most of our governance models checkpoints on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis, on a quarterly basis, a half-year basis, on an annual basis, where we review overall performance using the data that Priyesh and his team provide on overall performance. So whether that be reporting, whether that be help desk, whether it be training, whether it be the instructors, whether it be the learning from the learner. So we monitor that, and we report on that, and we review then with our client on a fairly regular basis. At an operational level, that's done weekly and monthly. And then at a more strategic level, we tend to do that quarterly, half-yearly, and annually. But it's really important to us and really important to our clients that we and they get a critical insight into how the program and programs are being delivered. Are we hitting our KPIs? Are we meeting the objectives that we've collectively set together? And are we delivering what we said we would deliver up front during the transition phase and during that 100-day plan that we talked about in a previous podcast? So really important from a compliance point of view and an overall governance point of view that we measure success and we measure progress. And where we're not hitting the level where we should be hitting, we sit down pretty regularly with our clients to assess what has gone wrong, because it doesn't always go right, let's be honest, okay? And what corrective action do we need to put in place to ensure we don't get a repeat, or to ensure that we get a better performance over the next period? So that's pretty critical as well. So as I say, that critical insight to operational delivery and performance is really important for us around governance.
One of the questions that, well, I have a couple of questions actually, but in our first episode, Colin, you mentioned the number of 1.2 million learners across the VPS wider family, if you like, to use I'm not sure if that would be the right terminology for you guys, but also the importance of, I'm imagining that the governance and the compliance and the regulations are all country specific as well. And so it's keeping on top of that as well, because I know that the financial services client that we're talking about at the moment is based in Ireland. And I'm assuming that there's probably location specific governance issues that you need to think about there.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I suppose that client actually has main focus in the Republic of Ireland, but also Northern Ireland, UK, and America. So it's vitally important that I suppose those regulators, and they are different, you're right, like what's there, the English Central Bank, the Republic of Ireland Central Bank, the European Central Bank, we need to make sure that we're on top of all of that. And we need to be really specific when it comes to our courses and our content. Is it designed for Republic of Ireland people? Is it designed for UK people? What's our target audience? And that actually dictates a huge amount about the regulation that's actually needed, because we will actually tie down some course material that's only specific to a certain region to make sure that compliance issue is not an issue for us. So nobody saying the Republic of Ireland will do a course that's designed for the UK audience. So when they think, oh, I've done that course, actually you did the UK version and not the Republic of Ireland version. So really important that we are aware of that, but also we support our client with that too. Now our clients are very clued in when it comes to regulations, like it's their bread and butter. They need to make sure no financial service client or no client wants to get a fine. Nobody. So they're fully aware of that themselves. But with our support, we would identify, particularly with our teams who are working with the client for the last number of years, they would go, oh, what about this arm? What about this arm of the business? Because again, the client that we're working with has different arms within financial services. So there'll be certain products that will be designed for this arm and not that arm. And our teams are so clued in on that course content and that course material that they can actually highlight and say, what about this arm? Have you mentioned these?
Yes.
Or does that include that? And that's where the experience of our teams come in. And that's how we support our clients to make sure that they don't forget. Because sometimes they mightn't think of the bigger picture, but our teams are so experienced, and our teams work with the same client year in, year out.
Yes.
And that experience has come on our side and on the client side. So really important that we all work together to make sure that regulations are met, regardless of what jurisdiction you're in.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Excellent. Guys, is there anything else that we have not covered over compliance and governance that you'd like to touch on today?
Not from my side. I'm hoping that our message has got across loud and clear about the importance of governance and regulation, regulatory control. Yes. Louise, So, and I guess over the next series of podcasts that we do, we'll touch on governance again. I'm pretty certain that we will.
Yes. So we'll bring this episode to a close today. With the next episode, we will be discussing the training curriculum and evaluating training needs. So make sure that you subscribe and don't miss the next episode. And if you haven't listened to the other episodes before this one, go back and tune in. And we'd love to hear your feedback. You can get in touch with us through the LinkedIn company page and let us know what you think of our podcast series. Thank you so much, guys. I will see you on the next episode.
Perfect.
Thanks, Louise.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.